Alrighty, folks, so it has been a hell of a week, and moreover, a hell of the last 24 hours. But 2 hours ago, the New York Times, and I know it's the New York Times, I hate reading from it, but headline: Pelosi threatens impeachment if Trump doesn't resign immediately, and Twitter permanently suspends him. We talked about this a bit last night on the podcast, but I just figured it would be good to go over here in a shorter term video. And I also want to address some of this QAnon stuff as well. So, Senator Lisa Murkowski became the first Republican senator to call for President Trump's resignation. No surprise there, Murkowski's a rhino. President-elect Joe Biden introduced top members of his economic team. The House could vote on impeachment next week. Now, let's see. Going down, Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California threatened on Friday that the House could move to impeach Trump over his role in inciting a violent mob attack on Capitol Hill if he did not resign immediately, appealing to Republicans to join the push to force him from office. Okay, I'll get to the analysis of this in just a sec, but we'll continue on. After a 3.5-hour phone call with fellow Democrats, Ms. Pelosi said she had instructed the Rules Committee to be prepared to move forward with either a motion for impeachment or legislation sponsored by Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat of Maryland, to establish a body under the 25th Amendment that can declare a president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. It is the hope of members that the president will immediately resign, Ms. Pelosi said, and in a statement. But if he does not, I've instructed the Rules Committee to be prepared. The announcement came after a call that Ms. Pelosi called sad, moving, and patriotic, in which members recounted the terror of the violent mob attacks on the Capitol from Mr. Trump's supporters. And again, a lot of these people were bad actors. Yes, they were Trump supporters perhaps, but they were bad actors as well. I'll get to that in a sec. The violent insurrection was an attack on the caucus, the Congress, the country, and the Constitution that was incited and facilitated by Donald Trump. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat of New York, and the caucus chairman said on the call, he must be held for his actions. So they're already lining Trump up for the firing squad, metaphorically speaking at least. In a letter to House Democrats on Friday, Ms. Pelosi invoked the resignation of Richard M. Nixon amid the Watergate scandal, when Republicans prevailed upon the president to resign and avoid the ignominy of impeachment, calling Mr. Trump's actions a horrific assault on our democracy. Ms. Pelosi also said she had spoken with General Mark A. Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, about preventing an unstable president from initiating military hostilities or accessing the launch codes. Would be a perfect time for Al-Qaeda or some other, or Iran even, to launch an attack if Trump can't get to the launch codes. But that's here nor there. Right? Orange man bad. So, let's see. A spokesman for General Milley, Colonel Dave Butler, confirmed that the two had spoken and said the general had answered questions regarding the process of nuclear command authority. But some Defense Department officials have privately expressed anger that the political leaders seem to be trying to get the Pentagon to do the work of Congress and cabinet secretaries who have legal options to remove a president. Mr. Trump, they noted, is still the commander-in-chief, and unless he is removed, the military is bound to follow his lawful orders. When military officials can refuse to carry out orders they view as illegal, they cannot proactively remove the president from the chain of command. That would be a military coup, they said. Exactly. So Pelosi is essentially trying to stage a military coup. The letter from Ms. Pelosi came as momentum for impeachment was rapidly growing on Friday among rank-and-file Democrats across the party's ideological spectrum, and a handful of Republicans offered potential support. So it goes on basically to say that they want Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. It recaps what happened at the rally, blah, blah, blah. And I will link to this New York Times article in the description here below if you guys want to read that. Now, here are a couple things. And I know this may be controversial. I want to start off by saying that once again, I do not condone what happened on Wednesday. It's inexcusable. No conservative worth their salt is condoning what happened. No Trump supporter even worth their salt is condoning what happened. But compared to the Antifa riots and some of the Black Lives Matter riots that happened over the summer, one in which a Patriot Prayer member, a Tea Party member, was shot in the face. This was violent, but it didn't carry nearly the weight. This was one event, and these riots happened all summer. And yet the media continues to focus on just this one incident as the most horrific event. There's violence on both sides of the political aisle now, and it's just sad. So, before we talk about how the right is being politically violent, let's also bring in how Antifa has been politically violent multiple times over the past few years, and I have on the show. So that goes without saying again, not condoning what happened, but let's not pretend like this is the only incidence of political violence this year. Also, and I can't believe I'm saying this again, but for the people who keep bringing up QAnon, for those of you in the back who haven't heard me, let me say this again. I have no idea what Q is. The vast majority of people don't know what Q is. The vast majority of Trump supporters are not Q. It's a wild goose chase. It's a wild conspiracy. And in fact, even Alex Jones, which is what I want to play here for you at the end of this video, even Alex Jones of InfoWars, love him or hate him, even he came out and basically condemned QAnon as a fringe movement. Let me play some of the video for you here now. This is from his website, band.video, which I am only mentioning to cite the video source. This video is pretty long, but I only want to play a couple key parts of it because he interviewed the QAnon shaman guy and basically called him out on his BS. Alex Jones did. And you know that when Alex Jones says that something is a crank, if Alex Jones says that something is a crank conspiracy, you know it's got to be crazy.
Independence. I just think it needs to be done if we can't fix things peacefully at the right time, right place. You can see how, though, Trump wants a 10-day investigation of fraud. We were about to get it. How storming the Capitol screwed all that up. Q tells us stuff in all of its lies, is what I'm saying.
You keep interrupting me.
Because you're lying. Because you're full of shit. That's why. Because every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true. And it's always, oh, there's energy, and oh, now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. You said it was all over. They were all going to Gitmo. Now, oh, he's part of a larger thing of Q. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one, and I know what you are now, and I'm sick of it.
The Resistance.video.
Joining us is a man known as Q Shaman. Jake the Barbarian, I guess, was his earlier incantation or incarnation. He's at USA Wolfpack and Parlor at Jake and Jelly. And let's just play a clip of him saying some pretty good stuff when he was out at the MAGA rally. We're talking about the New World Order, the Federal Reserve, the banks. It's all true. But then what happened inside the Capitol, and what does the Q Shaman tell us about the tea leaves or the bull's guts or
technology or inertia propulsion, resources, all the labor in the country through the central banking system, okay? And that enslaves the whole country through debt to whoever owns a central bank, all right? Now, as they're researching all this stuff, as they're, all this R&D, they're covering it up through top secret security clearances, small compared to some countries, okay? Some countries are so deeply infiltrated, you can't move but 100 miles in any direction, and you got to...
You heard me warn this stuff that Q is not invincible and that Trump's in a lot of trouble?
I have heard those warnings, but, I'm of the belief that Q is military intelligence, and I have a lot of faith in the military and military intelligence.
Okay, well, I literally talk to all the top people, okay? And they're all surrounded and cut off, and the Chi-Coms are taking over. They tell me we're in desperate straits. So that's why I kept trying to tell you guys, it's not being defeatist to tell America we're in trouble, need the general public to get involved. You understand that when the general public thinks everything's fine, they don't get involved. You understand? And so if there could be a silent takeover because they don't know, then that's a problem. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm quite proud of what happened on January 6th.
Okay, tell us how you're proud of it. Tell us what happened.
Well, first of all, we are talking about a government that is literally telling people when they can open their businesses, when they can see and hug their families, a government that is literally affecting the way or trying to affect the way that their citizens breathe. We're talking about a government that has literally given billions of dollars to foreign nations through the guise of a COVID relief bill, where they give billions of dollars to foreign nations, $600 to every American citizen, and then they hand the taxpayers the bill and say, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to pay for all of it. So to me, that sounds like treason on, the highest level. And if we
No, I hear you. I think we have a right for a new Declaration of Independence. I just think it needs to be done if we can't fix things peacefully at the right time, right place. You can see how, though, Trump wants a 10-day investigation of fraud. We were about to get it. How storming the Capitol screwed all that up.
Well, I don't quite see it that way, Alex, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that, if anything, we sent a very clear message to the globalists and to the communists who have these puppet politicians, these parasites in our system. We sent a very clear message, and we did so peacefully, despite what the Mockingbird media says.
Well, it was mostly peaceful, and when the left takes over stuff, we're supposed to let them occupy whole buildings, whole areas. That's all a legitimate argument. And people got killed there. And so I agree you're not terrorist. I'm just saying, you know Antifa helped break down stuff and wanted this to happen. I mean, you know the deep state liked what happened, right? Because, I mean, I know you think it showed them who's boss and all the rest of it, but I don't, you get my perspective that Trump's now capitulating and all this? I mean, this is not good.
Well, everybody has their opinion, Alex, and in all honesty, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't quite fully agree with you.
Do you think Trump's in a secret location in Texas and everything, and it's a CG of him capitulating?
You know, in all honesty, I believe in Occam's razor, Alex, and you know, I only talk about things that I know for certain I can prove, or things that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt are real. I wouldn't be
stay there. You're a very interesting guy. We got to get you back on as a guest more. Don't hang up. Matt Bracken's here. He's an author, researcher. You may know who he is. Matt, do you have any comments for the Q shaman?
Yeah, I think that that Q, even if it was started by a private guy, you know, pretending to be an insider, it was taken over pretty quickly as a useful tool to feed disinformation because it absolutely hinders and cripples the patriots, because they're all thinking that Trump is playing, you know, 4D chess, and no matter what, they're just saying he did it on purpose. There's a reason, and he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and we're going to win in the end.
And then I talked to Trump, and Roger does recently, and Trump's like, what do we do, Alex? It's terrible, Alex. What do we do when there's this fraud? Trump's a regular guy, folks. He's not frickin' Jesus Christ. I'm sorry.
And he's cut off from the intel. People are saying, why doesn't he declassify all this material? Because he can't. Nobody will declassify.
They're warehouses of information. If the bureaucrats want to do it for you, they have trouble getting it.
This is why he didn't go to Camp David this weekend. He might not have been let back into the White House. If he went to Texas, or, you know, much less, even not even Camp David, he's afraid if he gets on the helicopter and goes anywhere, he won't be let back in. You know, now he's just worried about finishing out his term.
That's right.
And not being taken out in a straitjacket under.
That's right. He didn't leave because of an Iranian threat. I was confirmed. They were talking 25th Amendment the week before last because of this rally. That's why he went back to the White House. You're damn right.
And this would have been the greatest victory for the patriots if the message of January 6th was rotor quad drone shots of 1 million people waving, you know, American flags and Trump flags. That would have been powerful. That would have showed our power. But instead, it's these guys that went into the Capitol and just basically took a dump in the punch bowl.
And they're feeling good because they're all over TV everywhere. But let's talk to the Q shaman. Maybe he says Occam's razor. Maybe as a shaman, he will tell us about the Guder Damarong and the Battle of the Gods. Okay, so we're going to find out about that on the other side. Stay with us.
All right, so I'm not going to play the whole clip, but that guy there that was talking to Alex, he's absolutely right. If January 6th had been peaceful, if no one had tried to storm the Capitol, there wouldn't have been any issue. Yeah, it might have gotten some publicity, but we still would have had a leg to stand on. Now, jumping further ahead, this is a long video. Let me see here.
He's just like, highest level military intelligence.
Yep. Okay, so here's where we are. So here's Alex disavowing Q, basically.
Says the almighty Q Lord, and you are his priest, tells us everything's fine. So does the...
I'm not saying everything's fine. You're interrupting me.
Put him on pause. I can't handle this guy. I don't know if he's for real or whether he is higher than a kite, Matt Bracken, but this is crazy talk. And this is what I'm talking about. So you got a bunch of Antifa leading Q-tards into the Capitol, and they believe it's a fabulous victory for them.
Yeah, this is kind of reminding me of the Lakota Sioux in 1891. they thought that if they wore the magic if they wore the magic bead vest and
yeah, it's the
said
Sioux.
the
I was
right
saying the
prayers,
Hopi. I was right. It's the Sioux that did the ghost dance. Guys, show the Sioux doing the ghost dance. There's photos of it. Show it.
yeah, and they thought that if they did the ghost dance, then the soldiers' bullets would just go through them and they would win, and the white man would disappear. So if you're a shaman who is leading the ghost dance, there's only two options. You know, you're either insane because you're about to get your people massacred, or you're working for the other side and you want your people to get massacred. But this is really imagine people followed into the Capitol because they believed in Q, and Q is shamanism. We're told. I mean, I'm old enough to have seen these hoaxes that were believed for a long time. I remember in the 70s, a guy named Carlos Castanedas wrote these books called The Tales of Don Juan, where he swore it was true that he met a Yaqui Indian who gave him peyote and taught him how to fly. I don't mean just like a trip, but I mean to literally fly. And people believed it, and there were followers of Carlos Castanedas for years and years. It turned out he made it all up. It was all BS. There was the Howard Hughes, Clifford Irving diary. That was accepted as fact. It was all BS. There was the Hitler diaries. There was a guy named Ulsterman and DC Insider that was sort of like before Q, where he was swearing that he had the inside skinny from, deep in the White House bunker.
And so now we are directly distilled down to literal ghost dancing with a dude wearing a Blackfoot Indian outfit telling us this. This is what we've now reached.
And he's got the pipeline to the highest levels of military intelligence. How did that work out for General Flynn? If the highest levels of military intelligence were, assuring Trump's ultimate victory, why didn't they save General Flynn?
Good point.
This is a way to keep patriots just on the couch thinking it's all taken care of.
I hear you. Bracken, stay there. I'm going to do 5 more minutes with you and the guest, and I'm not trying to be mean to the guest. If Ellen wants to have him on, he's welcome to have him, or if he can have the guy back, we'll let him talk, because it's very entertaining. It's just that it's like I tell this guy, like, hey, I'm dialed into all that stuff, okay? And they don't know what's going on. Nobody does. He's just like, highest level military intelligence. Highest level military intelligence. I mean, they don't even, it doesn't even, like, I tell people, like, real stuff, like, this is going to happen. Oh, Trump next week will have a thing on the ellipse. What? No, was it out for 5 days? It's all real. Who cares if you talk to Trump? We talk to the highest levels of military intelligence. And so it's just so frustrating to sit there and watch our people wake up, but then believe the charlatan garbage. All right, I'm gonna relax. I need funding. Yep. I'm in the real world, not funded by George Soros, the New World Order. Preparewithalex.com.
All right.
I might extend it through Monday. I'm trying to twist their arm.
So Alex is doing his salesman shtick there, but I think you get the point. Even Alex disavows the whole QAnon thing. The guy's talking nonsense about military intelligence and all that, and that's a good point too. If the whole thing was true, why wasn't General Flynn released? So the point being here is, even Alex Jones, who is more of a controversial figure, has disavowed Q. I've said before, I don't even know what QAnon really is. I've had some of those wackos try and contact me, email me over the years trying to get on my show. One of them, as I've described on the show before, had the audacity to pull a Neo and claim that, like, I was somehow Q, that I was the chosen one, and that's why he wanted to come on my show to spread this information on my show, because I was somehow one of the, chosen people or something like that. Very weird, very Matrix-like, and, obviously I don't buy it. I mean, I think I'm a cool guy, but I'm not QAnon. And, I don't hold some, big secret or something. I'm not some messiah or anything like that. I'm just a normal guy who covers politics and pop culture and I mainly just like to goof around with my friends on stream. That's what this podcast is, mostly. So anyway, folks, things are not looking too good. Like I've said, I don't, put any stock in QAnon. I also do want to point out here, I'll link to this article. I wrote this blog post back in 2018 about how the censorship of Alex Jones is troubling because they would come for all of us, and lo and behold, they have. So that's where we're at now, folks, and just very dark times, very sad to hear, but keep it on the channel. I'm gonna be live tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, so tune in for that. In the meantime, folks, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy, in that order, and I will see at you. I will talk at you down the road.